Hey friends, it's me. I'm back, and I have had another not so random encounter. And so I wanted to bounce some things off of you first before I talk about my not so random encounter. But before I go on, don't forget to like and subscribe below and hit that little bell so that you won't miss any of my uploads. And be sure to share this video with a friend and tell your friend to share with a friend. So I'm thinking that I'm going to call my not so random encounters playlist answer, because my discussions are me being in search of answers to all of my random wanderings and wanderings. So answer ANSRE, another not so random encounter. So and if you write it out, it's ANSRE. If you try to pronounce that, it's pronounced answer. Anyway, so I have this part-time gig, and I work in the evenings. Well, not really work, kind of help out a young woman who's a young black lady, and she owns a one of the few black-owned dance studios here in Kansas City. And so she found me, and I am now kind of helping her in the evenings, a couple nights a week. So anyway, I'm sitting at the desk, and in comes this young woman, and she's followed by three little tiny tots, and one of them was super tiny, like 3. And so she's asking a ton of questions, and she's kind of touching stuff on the desk, not in a bad way, not tearing things up, but just being curious. And there's a study that was done on young minority children and how they learn to read, and it's called the 3 million word gap. And what the study revealed was, and I'm going to get back to the backstory in a second. What the study revealed was that by the time kids are around school age, where they go to kinder, there's this 3 million word gap between minority children and white children. And what they found was there's not enough conversation happening in the home. There's not enough access to books and libraries and newspapers. They don't see their parents reading. And there is culturally this phenomena where we inadvertently are stifling our kids' ability to have a progressive acquisition of language. And so by age 4 or 5, you got a young black boy or a young Hispanic boy, and you have a 5-year-old white boy, and they're in kinder together, and it looks like the achievement gap is already there. But honestly, I think the achievement gap is a myth, and I'll talk about that later. But what I thought about that when this young woman and her tiny tots walked in, and she was, "Stop, quit, hush, you're talking too much. Why you asking me so many questions? You doing too much." And I was grieved. And I was like, dang. You know, first of all, as someone who does not have children and who strongly desires to be a mother, it pissed me off, first of all. Because you can't take 2 minutes to say paper, this is paper, pen, ink pen. She's pointing to it, ooh, and she sees, you know, I had a little thing up there and it has Santa Claus on there. And she's pointing or whatever. Why not just take a moment? Just a moment. And support that curious nature. Just a moment. And push her into an opportunity to learn something. It only takes a moment to learn a word, a sound, and even to make a connection with your daughter. And so parents, we got to be careful, because how many times are we at the grocery store and kids are wondering, and many times they're doing it out loud, and we look at it as them being incorrigible, or they're being undisciplined or uncivilized, but they're 5. I mean, they're gonna do kid things. And so we as adults, we got to stop getting frustrated and stifling those creative moments because we don't want to because we're being lazy, and we are annoyed, and so it becomes about us instead of about them. And at that age, those formative years, they're the most pliable. And you know, that's why they say, you know, studies have shown that kiddos at that age, you know, you put them on an instrument, you get them in classes for a foreign language, and all of that, because, you know, they're a little more pliable than when you get 7 and then 12 and 15 and then 25, you know. And so the brain is malleable. So I just want to ask, what do you think? What goes through your mind? Many times I think people have gotten so accustomed to answering the call of society's expectations to where we've created this stigma about kiddos, you know, in the store. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, there is some inappropriate behavior that should happen. You know, you're in a restaurant, your baby shouldn't be running to the other table or whatever, or, you know, spitting food or throwing things. But if they're having a healthy curiosity and asking questions and they want to touch things, because can you imagine what the world looks like down there? First of all, just imagine at 4, just based on your height, what the world looks like. It's like us when we go to the Grand Canyon, or when we go to another country and we stand on the beach and we're in awe. But we can make sense of those things because we're grown and we have experience, we've read, and we've watched a whole bunch of TV, so we can kind of make sense of it. But at 2 and 3, and they walk into a place like a grocery store and they walk down the fruit aisle, and they know apple or pear, but what if they come up on a apricot, or a fruit that they've never had, a pluot or a mango? Why not take a moment and do your part in decreasing that 3 million word gap? Let's do our part, Black and brown families. So yeah, so this was a little bit of a rant, but it was just another random encounter with little kid curiosity. So a child's curious mind. And so moms, please, please just take a moment. Take a moment and pronounce the word. Take a moment. Let them touch something. I have a little girl that stops by the desk all the time, and on the back of the page, she just wants to scribble. And she gives me a hug and she says, "What's your name?" I said, "Miss Yolanda." And she said, "I'm going to write your name." Of course, she wouldn't write my name. She was doing scribble scrabble. And so I said, "Say my name, Miss Yolanda." Miss. I said, "What do you think about that first letter? Miss." And so every time she sees me, she says, "What's that sound?" M. Took 3 seconds. Now, what's another word that sounds with it? If I know Miss Yolanda, I know money. If I know money, I know mother. If I know mother, I know monster. If I know monster, I know mighty. If I know mighty, I know some other word that begins with M. And it's just our game that we play. And it doesn't take that much. And so be careful with our young minds, because what you could be doing is killing the next great artist or the next great poet. Words are powerful, and if you take a moment to let them acquire new words, you never know what you are opening them up to, and you never know what you are preparing to give to the world and to the kingdom. Yeah. So curiosity is not a bad thing. So that is another not so random encounter. And if you have questions or comments, please put them in the comments below. Observations. And if this is a conversation that you want to possibly extend, let's do it. Ask a question or answer a question that I've asked, and let's keep talking about it. And and that study is by Hart and Risley, I believe. Hart and Risley. And I'll actually link it down below, so y'all can study up on it. It's fascinating. Anyway, so peace and love, and I'll see you next time for another random encounter.